delivery from DiPierdomenico. Good strong mark.
Nobody loves a goal more in football, particularly in the finals, than Bertie.
Welcome, Robert. Welcome to Open Mic.
Thanks, Mike. I'm quite nervous here with you.
You don't need to be, mate. We're friends.
Okay.
You were the biggest name in football 10 years ago. Where have you been recently?
I've still been around. I'm still working in football, which I love doing.
You working with the AFL?
Yeah, very much so. I'm involved with the Auskick program, which I became the face about 6 years ago. I think at the time we had about 46,000 juniors between 5 and 12 years of age in our program, but obviously our national game now, we're 185,000. I travel 4 days a week when it's Auskick season, and really love it, and just sort of been involved with the game at that level because the kids haven't seen me play before, but I'm a cartoon character for these young kids and they just hang off of you. Tiwi Islands, I could be in Western Australia somewhere, I could be in Tasmania, because footy has really grown.
We go a long way back, Dipper, way back to the mid-70s. It's been some journey for you, hasn't it?
It has been a great journey. It's been a wonderful journey, obviously, at this club, Hawthorn, and with 1975, I think the first time that we met, was one of your best stories of all time. I got the front page of The Age.
You did?
Yeah, and you spelt my name wrong. Up against the wall, I was leaning against my name. And
tell us about life growing up in inner suburban Melbourne in the 1960s as the son of Italian immigrants.
Well, it was tough in a way because obviously, we've certainly changed through, racism. Obviously, my mum and father come from Italy. Dad came in 54. Mum came to Australia in 56. They were married by proxy over the phone. Dad
tell me about that.
Well, basically, my grandfather sent my dad and two other brothers across the world. And he said to Dad, "You're packing your bags up and you're going to Australia." And Dad really didn't know much about it. So he jumped on the boat and landed in Melbourne and shacked up in Richmond with a few of the boys and become a bricklayer and a hard-working man that way. And then Mum came over in 56 while Dad established some sort of home here. And they were married by phone, by proxy over the phone. So those people call me a bastard. Maybe I am. And when I was growing up at school, I thought those Anglo-Saxon boys used to call me some names, and in a way, I took up sport to override that.
Did it hurt? I mean, was it? That was a period
at the time you're not quite sure if it hurts or not, but the fact is you wanted to be part of the system, and even at the age of 11, 12, 13 years of age. The Anglo-Saxon boys sort of call me, some many names. They were talking about or using those words today, but it really helped me become who I am today. I used to have a really bad stutter back in those days. I was very hyperactive. These days they call it ADD. There's tablets these days, but back in those days I was really stuttering. I was really not confident, but I took up sport, running, jumping, skipping, hopping, playing footy, do anything for the school, cross-country runs, all that sort of stuff. And because I could run all day and because I was very hyperactive, I had plenty of energy. So it really helped me sort of mix in with the Anglo-Saxons.
Now, you like to occasionally remind us that you played in 5-day premierships and 5-night premierships. But
true.
Dipper, I've actually discovered that the 5-night premierships is not accurate. It's actually 4, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was...
Why have you never corrected this?
I played that many, Mike. I'm not quite sure exactly how many I played in, but look, you can set the story straight, yeah.
You started at Hawthorn in 1975 and then didn't play a game in 76 or 77. What happened?
No, I didn't, and it was quite interesting. I don't know why, but obviously, when I first came to Hawthorn, I came sort of 4 or 5 rounds into the season. I came from Kew Amateurs. It was coached by John Fisher, an ex-Hawthorn person. And at the time, I was 17, 18 years of age or so. And when I first came here, it was sort of, throughout the season, I played some under-19 games, and then I played some reserve games. And next thing I find myself, courtesy of you, the front page of the Age, playing against Fitzroy at Junction Oval. And I was 19th man that day, and I came on and did what I did. And I think that just gave me a taste of what could be. But in the 2 years following that, I languished in the reserves and also some under 19 games as well, about learning the game and growing my body in a way, because I wasn't always this big, you know.
Now, the modern player would be staggered by this, but is it true that you played 99 games in the seconds?
Yeah, I wasn't good enough to play 100. That was really disappointing. They could have dropped me one more time.
But that's an amazing apprenticeship, isn't it? To think that you've had 5 full seasons playing in the seconds. I mean, it just wouldn't happen today.
I think that's the word, apprenticeship. I mean, at Hawthorn at the time, if you think about the 70s, the 80s and the 90s, and the 3 decades that I played at this club, it was hard to get into that side, because back in the early days, I was a half-back flanker, didn't have much skill, I had plenty of energy, as I was saying, but you know, sort of head over the ball stuff, and you know, I remember John Candy, you know, just, you don't worry about kicking it, just get your head over the ball, just get it, you know. And as soon as you heard those words, you know, it was hard to get in. Ian Bremner was on the half-back flank, and guys like Peter Welsh and whatever. But yeah, back in the Hawthorn days too, Mike, it was harder at Glenferrie Oval to get a kick, let alone to get a kick on the MCG, because you know your positions were sort of hassled for, because on a Tuesday night there was mouth guards in, it was 1 hour around the ground, and if I was a young coming up type of player like I was, Ian Bremner would say, well, what jump you got on? You got an odd jump, or I'll put an even jump, and you against me. He used to punch the crap out of me, you know, which taught me a lot about the club and how hungry you have to be for your position. To play 99 reserve games, obviously through suspensions, injuries, and also I got dropped a few times. I got that call off all the coaches, you know. Yeah, the weather conditions, not bloody good enough, son, you know. all those things, you know, you learn.
Early in your career, there was a perception that you were a bit of a scrubber. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
And that you made yourself into a high-quality player. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I wouldn't say high-quality player, but
you were. You played 240.
You know, you're saying that, but I mean, I do build myself up a few times. But you know, but look, I was a scrubber. I was just a very hyperactive young man, just trying to play football. Found himself at Hawthorn. You know, head over the ball stuff. That's one thing I could do. You know, I wasn't scared to put my head over the ball. I remember John Scott having a go at me. I remember Lee Matthews having a go at me. Even at training, I could not kick the ball from 20, 30 metres to hit him on the chest. I remember Scotty screaming at me, you know. And then Jeezy came in and really said, don't worry about your courage. Head over the ball stuff. It's your skill level. And we worked on our skill level. And at the end there, I think I could pass the ball.
Oh my goodness, was that a goal?
The Encyclopedia of AFL Footballers lists you at 88 kilos. I'm saying that's unders.
Yeah, very much unders.
What did you play at?
Well, in my first game, I would have been around about 76, 78 kilos. And obviously, I grew that to about 103 kilos. In the 83 grand final, I played at 103 kilos. But then the dietitians came in around about 85, 86, when Karen Inge came in. Now, we were eating steaks and chips and eggs before a game. And then they were in that bananas and muffins. I mean, it was Dermot, myself, Dunstall, the fat club they called us, you know. We used to put on pretty quickly. But I ended up playing around about 94 kilos, and I was stronger, faster. It was just amazing how football turned around.
You and Greg Williams tied for the Brownlow in 1986, but you didn't win the Hawthorn Best and Fairest that year.
No, I never won any Best and Fairest. I came third, I think, once in 84 to Russell Green. Yeah, look, you know, I'm not quite sure why and how come, but
Did the Brownlow surprise you?
Oh, it surprised all of us. I was 50th away and I didn't have a dollar in it. I mean, I remember going that night. It was quite funny because there is a story to it where we were training at the MCG before the final, and in 86. Of course, Essendon had beaten us in 84 and 85. And Jeezy, just before we finished up on that Monday, said, come on boys, get in. Dipper, Platten, Dermot, boys, from now on, tuck in, no media. No media from this moment on. All we need to do is concentrate. You guys are going to focus. We'll worry about your tickets, we'll worry about your families and whatever. Just from now on, we've told the club that we'll answer all the questions on your behalf. Just concentrate on the game. I said, okay, that's great. And back in those days, I was living in Boronia, so I drove all the way home to pick up my wife, Cheryl. And Cheryl wasn't really ready at the time as well, so we had a little bit of an argument, thinking, oh look, I couldn't be bothered going in anyway, because it's going to be a long drive in. Anyway, we finally get in, entree being served, and I'm sitting around, and you know, some games you've played well, and some games you're thinking, oh, you know, maybe I get a couple of votes here or there. There's a couple of games I kicked a few goals off the wing and you think, oh, you know, you have a chance of getting some votes. And all of a sudden it came down to the end, and I knew that Paul Roos and Greg Williams had played against each other, or teams had played against each other. Greg got reported, I think, and Paul didn't really have a good day. And I thought, well, I'm even with Greg Williams here, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm looking at them thinking, I don't know, but I was shit scared, if I can say that, because all I was thinking about Jeansy and media, and the cameras all over me, and I'm trying to hide, you know. I remember going up there, and John Elliott, the great Carlton president, was also involved with Foster's at the time, and we were playing Carlton at the time, 86, about 5 days after the Brownlow. And he offered me a can of beer, and I said, no, get out of the way. And then Peter Landy invited me to go up, and I gave the line, I only came here for the free meal, you know, the free feed. And as I said that, I'm looking down, I see Jeansy going, hey, bloody yeah, what's going on? Because obviously media, you know, but I think I had it pretty well.
You played much of the 1989 grand final with a punctured lung. It was courtesy of Gary Ablett, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, at the time, yeah.
It just wouldn't happen these days. I mean, did you actually put your life in danger?
Who knows? I mean, I'd do anything to win a grand final. It was our 7th day grand final in a row. And no Hawthorn side's ever won back-to-back. This great club has played in many grand finals. And if you look at the history of the club, especially in the 7 in a row that we played in, you know, we won 83 and lost 84 and 85. And after 85, we started training virtually a week after the grand final. And we gave up the grog and all the bits and pieces that you do to make a commitment, and we won 86. And then 87 we lost, and 88 we won. So even though it was Geelong, we still had a chance to be the first ever Hawthorn back-to-back premiership side.
Now you played with there's no doubt, by anyone's definition, that's a serious injury.
Look, at the time, you know, when you hear these words, it's yours, Dipper, or it's yours, Johnny, it's yours, Dermot, you stand under that ball. And it's the only game in the world that someone can come from in front and beside you and behind you and do what they do, right? And in the 80s, it was like that. You know, you stood under that ball, and when it was my turn, you know, it could be that one time in your whole career that you've got to do what you've got to do. I knew what was coming behind me. Gary was telling me he's coming. I went back and copped what I did, and away we went. You know, but you know.
So did he actually literally tell you he's coming?
I'm coming, big fella. You know. I could hear him. I'm thinking, oh, hurry up, because there's no place to hide in the MCG, or let alone a football ground. You know, even today's football, when that ball's in the air, as I said before, and you're caught in, it's what you're there for. And forget all the skills, forget all the training you've done, whatever. It's something that you've got to do for your teammate, and that's what the game is about. You know, and we see today, day in day. I always love the footage of when Rewalt was up in Sydney. He had eyes on the ball only. You know, and if you look at that footage, it's just what football's about, you know, the courage that these players have today and in the past.
Goes down towards half forward, look out! Oh, Rewalt, remarkable!
There is a beauty and a grace in toughness, and Rewalt showed it then.
Okay. Now you spent grand final night in hospital. How ill were you?
I was quite ill. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to believe this, but I really haven't sat down and watched the grand final, or any of the grand finals I've played in. I've never really sat down and gone, oh, you stop, pause and whatever, you know. I know that we've lost, I know we've won some. I know the 89 grand final, certain parts of the game. I know that the fact that I ended up in hospital, and I know that I was very lucky to survive the day. But I remember also sitting there knowing that we won a premiership. And that was the main thing, you know, because I can go on to talk about the 89 grand final, but knowing that we won and being part of that Hawthorn's first back-to-back has really helped me, you know, overcome that day. I remember a lot of players got injured that day. Johnny Platten got knocked out in the first quarter. You know, Dermot did what he did in the first couple of minutes. It was arrogant. It was fantastic. That's what a grand final is about.
Dermot Brereton down. I mentioned how Yates came through the centre, didn't have eyes for the ball, just went straight at Brereton and has put him down.
But that was the most brutal grand final I've ever seen.
Well, you've seen a few,
yeah.
and I've played in a few, and you would think that, you know, as far as injuries are concerned to both sides, I mean, Geelong had a few blokes too, you know, a couple of broken jaws here and there and whatever.
Stephen Hocking?
Stephen Hocking and then Buddha Hocking, of course. I ended up fixing him up.
You did?
I did, yeah.
You fixed a lot of blokes up in your playing career, didn't you? Well,
you know, you're there to protect yourself in a way. I mean, I got cleaned up a few times too. But I made no mistake about it. It was great footy. It was great one-on-one. It was me versus you and other guys trying to ping you all the time. and vice versa. We would tell guys who were just grabbing onto Bucky or Platts by the jumper, look, it's fair enough. You play on him, but you keep grabbing him, I'll knock you over, and Dermot will get you that way, or Easy will get you the other way. We told players that we're going to get him.
After the break, Dipper talks about the wingman he just couldn't beat and being reduced to tears by one of his coaches.
Danaher playing at centre half back. Oh, Walsh got one from DiPierdomenico.
Football Park on Monday. DiPierdomenico stood his ground.
It's Austin getting away from Matthew. Oh, it got one from DiPierdomenico. He doesn't know where to go. He's down. Oh, he's up and he might have got it too high against DiPierdomenico. He's taking his number. He's grabbed, and that's the siren to end the second quarter. But Hawthorn in a pretty good position. 9 goals, 10-64. There's a box on now.
There was the celebrated on-field clash with Alan Stoneham and his face, and Curly Austin and his jaw. I mean, are there any pangs of remorse about those?
Absolutely. You always remorse about it because we all play the same game. But there are times when it's hard to explain to people that you don't go out there deliberately trying to hurt people. Yes, there are times that you can fix someone up, off the ball and whatever. I mean, I got cleaned up a few times off the ball as well. But with Alan Stoneham, I still remember Glenn Hawker getting the ball out of the middle at Princes Park. He handballed the ball over his head as I'm coming off the wing. The siren goes for half time. Everyone slows down. And I look to my left and there's Alan coming 100 miles at me. I've taken one step, put my elbow up, and next thing, the first thing I did was go down to see if he was all right. And then I got pushed out of the way, and then I ran towards the rooms. I looked back and there's a big fight.
There was. Do you have conversation with Alan Stoneham?
I've spoken to Alan 1,000 times.
Yep.
And I've apologised, and we've spoken about other things, And Curly Austin's exactly the same. I remember him and Barney, Lee Matthews, had the best contest you ever see, It was at Waverley. There was a final, and I was coming off the wing, thinking that I would read the ball, sort of bounce you to run away from Curly and Lee. But the ball actually bounced into their faces, and I ran past and I gave Curly one, not sort of meaning to do it, but I just, as I'm running past, I give him one and I played on. The umpire said play on, I kept going, And next thing I find out, he's got a broken jaw and never played again.
Were you ever scared on the football field?
At times. I was one game against Essendon, I was pretty scared. Cameron Clayton, he gave me an absolute beauty, put my nose all over my face, but I had to go back out there, unfortunately. I just wanted to stay in the shed.
That was the payback for Stoneham, wasn't it?
It was one of the paybacks from Stoneham, yeah. I got cleaned up that day a few times.
You played in 5 premiership teams. Is there one that's your favourite?
Hard to split them. Really. Your first one, 78, who would have thought 3 years after I joined the club that I'm playing against North Melbourne, and I remember making the side on the bench. And Barras, now Barras reckons he didn't say this. I'll tell you, Barras, I love you, mate, but you said this to me at the grand final parade. Now, back in those days, we used to go to Maya and have a chicken sandwich and a cup of tea, all right? And we used to be introduced to the crowd on the podium and wave in front of the people, right? It was one of the first sort of ever grand final parades. And Barras came up to me and said, "What's your name?" And just stupidly, I just said, "Oh, you'll find out tomorrow." All right? And of course, the history shows you that we ended up winning the game. And I suppose 89, because first ever back-to-back, it was a great game to be involved with. People talk about that game, and I love when people talk about the ins and outs of that game, not just what happened to me and Dermot and the other guys, but what the game meant to both sides and how both sides approached it. Mark Yates, you have the balls to do what he did, To do what he did, at the bounce of the ball, his teammates knew exactly what he was going to do. I think that's great.
Tell us about your relationship with Alan Yabby Jeans.
He was a father figure to me, but also, he really laid the law to me. He made me grow up. He got stuck to me a few times and abused me a few times, loved me a few times, hugged me a few times. But that was Jeansy. The best thing about Alan Jeans is this: he knew how to handle personalities. He didn't hit every player over the head with the same stick. He knew how to get to me and Dermot. He knew how to get to Bucky. He knew how to get to Johnny Platten. But, in different words, because if you use the same stick to all of us, we all get sick of it.
Did Jeansy ever break you down? I know he was a comfort for you and he encouraged you, but he did have a caustic tongue at times.
Oh, Oh, he broke me down a few times. Don't worry about that. There was one time I was quite stupid, I was quite naive, I was quite angry, I was quite arrogant about that I should have been playing the seniors and not somebody else. And I made him known that after I had a few scotches at the club. And it became to quite a significant time of my life at Hawthorn. Yeah.
So expand on that for me. What happened?
Thursday nights was obviously trainers' nights. Every club has them, and our trainers, Bobby Yeomans and all the guys, used to cook up a feast for us. You know, some fish or some chips or some dim sims and a glass of Coke and whatever. And then we go in and buy a couple of raffle tickets. And this time, Bobby Yeomans, Biggie Bobby Yeomans, you know, history of the club is just wonderful history of the club. He was sweating over the chips that he used to, and I used to have a bit of a scotch with a dash of Coke. And I had a bit of a mouthful, and away I go. And he said to me, listen, I've just been into the coach's room and you've been dropped this week. I said, what? You've been dropped? I said, well, you better give me another glass of that. and then I stayed there and had one and had two and had three, and I'm going, oh yeah, that'll be right. Hey, what they'll drop me for? Hey, well, they don't like migrants in this club, or wonk at this club or whatever. Hey, why would I want to be dropped for him? And la. I didn't realise that Jeezy was going to come home about an hour and a half later. I've had a couple, and the Scotch bottle went from here, and I had the crowd just eating in my hand. They go, yeah, Dipper, you tell them, Dipper. I go, yeah. And then another thing too, and all of a sudden he walks in, the crowd's gone from yeah, Dipper to and it was just me and him like this. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, what am I doing? What about you? Hey, dropping me. Hey, what right you got to drop me? And then from there, he said, why don't we discuss it in the coach's room? I said, yeah, why don't we do that? And before he went, he read out the side. I didn't realise he went in there after match committee, read out the side to the people there, have a beer himself before he went home. So we go into the coach's room. I still remember it. Opened the door. I was first. I opened the door, turned it around. I saw turn it in. Light switch on the left, walked in, and Genie's just gone bang, up against the wall. I don't know what's going on. His elbow up against my throat. He goes, how dare you? How dare you treat the Hawthorn Football Club the way you are tonight, Who do they think who the hell do they think you are, I was a little bit emotional about it because I always thought I was this arrogant, one-time premiership player at the time, He said, your time up here is it. And then, you've embarrassed yourself, you've embarrassed everyone at this football club, you've embarrassed the football club in major, From now on, as far as I'm concerned, you're out of this club. And I'm just gone from...
Who was your toughest opponent? And if you don't say Dougie Hawkins, I reckon you're fibbing.
Well, I will say Dougie Hawkins. There's no doubt about it. I mean, tough, not as in tough as in, punch on or whatever, because I played against some wonderful players like that. But Dougie Hawkins, we played against him about 11 times. We got the same birthday of all the things. I'm a couple of years older than him. I remember I loved playing against him because of the fact that, I knew exactly he was just a smooth move around the ground. Left foot, right foot, he was half my size. But we'd have these battles. In '85, he was one of the best players in Australia in the game. And in the '85 final series, he absolutely tore me apart, right? And they kept kicking out to me. And they kept sticking his bum out and taking marks. I remember at Waverley, we were playing the Doggies that day. And I remember he took about 10 marks in a row.
There have been some well-documented problems with the taxation department of recent times.
Yeah.
Did that embarrass you?
Well, it embarrassed me at the time because I knew nothing about it. I just received a phone call and from a journalist saying to me that, hey, tomorrow we're printing this article. I'm going, well, what's it all about? And she told me, and I could not believe it. And then I got summons about 4 months later from that article. So something's going on. But as soon as I found out the ins and outs of it, I just went into understanding what it was all about. And then I just rang up and it's done and dusted, yeah.
But there was a debt of several $100,000, is that correct?
Well, apparently there was a debt of a few $100,000. It was from a business situation that I had in the prior, but it had nothing to do with me. I sold the business, but anyway, I think that I stood there and I couldn't understand where it was coming from.
So you knew nothing about it until the paper came out?
Except for the fact that when I got a phone call and I got summons 4 months later. But it's done and dusted now. But I went through a hard time because, you know, I try to keep my name pretty clean because of the work that I do in football, especially with kids and families and things like that. So, yeah.
You're living down on the Mornington Peninsula these days. Did you have to sell your house as a result of the Taxation Department investigation?
No.
When the taxation episode hit the papers, did that shake your confidence and your self-esteem?
Well, it does shake your confidence because, you know, nobody likes to be front page of something that you don't know about, but also because you've got a name and a family and the things that you do for people and the charities that you work for and whatever, all of a sudden, you know, what's all this about? It just shamed me a little bit, but it's just like anything. If you put the cards on the table, I've always said to my kids, whatever, I don't care what it is, put the cards on the table, let's have a look where we are, and then we'll deal with it, you know? It's just, and that's the way that I found dealing with that problem.
Okay. Looking back, what's the greatest achievement of your life, do you think? Kids aside, family aside.
Yeah, sure.
What are you most proud of?
I don't know. It's just hard to... I don't think I'm finished. I don't know what I'm searching for. I don't know sometimes what I'm doing. I just love promoting the game that I enjoyed, you know. I suppose being involved with Hawthorn for 18 years of my life. When I first walked in, when I was 17 or so years of age, and Peter Crimmins shook my hand and said, if you embrace Hawthorn, Hawthorn will embrace you. And I think you're going to be here for a long time. He said to me, would you like a pair of boots? Because he was state manager of Puma at the time. And he went to his car and gave me a couple of pairs of boots or whatever, and shook my hand and said, look, enjoy the ride here. I mean, and who's to know that day, and 18 years later, I'm at that one club.
Dibber, great to catch up. It's been a fantastic career. We've loved every minute of it. I'm sure you have. You should be very proud of it.
Thank you very much. I am.
DiPierdomenico has it. He's got plenty of time. Shoots for goal. And it's through for a goal. What a magnificent goal by Robert DiPierdomenico, and that's his second.
This has been a Fox Sports presentation.